Hey guys, welcome back to another video in this channel. Today is gonna be a little bit different. I was inspired by one of the things that we mentioned in yesterday's videos, and there was a comment that agreed with my initial proposal. If you haven't seen the video, we go over the design of the weapon, which, by the way, the contest is still open, so you can still be working on your stuff. Again, more news coming very soon because we're really approaching the final dates for the contest. But he mentioned, or I mentioned on the video, that in order to become better at something, you need to spend a lot of time on it, right? Like, you need to master the craft, you need to learn the tools, you need to learn the techniques, and that's what's going to get you closer to your objective. However, I have found throughout my career, and I've made that mistake myself as well, sometimes there is no right way to learn. Like, what do I mean by this? Sometimes people follow certain steps or certain paths, and they think that that's the way they're going to be learning, and then it turns out it's not actually the best way to learn. So today we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about how to learn. It sounds stupid, I know, but I value this thing that I'm about to share with you because it's one of the key points that has helped me as an artist to continuously grow as part of my artistic career. And not only in this, in all of the other areas of your life, you can actually do this. So small little background. My father, he actually, his work, his line of job, he is a, how can I put this? He has a system. He has developed a system of presentations and exercises information and a process that he goes to companies, big companies, usually in the industrial world, and he teaches them this process. It's called a quality culture, right? So it's based on a lot of Japanese and American systems of continuous improvement. If you guys have family engineers and people that are in this sort of industries, then you might have heard these things before, like 5S's and I don't know, things like Pokayokas and stuff like that. It's things that I'm not really familiar with because I've never been in that industry, but I'm familiar with how my dad implements all of that information into the pipelines and into the work groups, so that the workers and the people in the factories and everything, they become better at doing things. And he has this very humanistic approach. So it's not just about the tools, but rather, again, the process, like how you implement those tools, the mentality and stuff like that. I believe they are sometimes called motivational speakers, but he's not just a motivational speaker. He does a lot of stuff. But thanks to that, to that huge little bit of my history, thanks to that, he taught us a lot of that stuff, and I'm sure I'm gonna be teaching my daughter a lot of art stuff and things like that when she grows up, because that's what I know, right? So he got he taught us a lot of this information, and there were a couple of big quotes that he gave us throughout our life that really stuck with me and that have helped me again grow as an artist. And the first one is a very interesting concept that he mentions, and I was looking here. Let me show you. I was looking to try and find the exact quote, but I couldn't find it. So I'm not sure if he kind of I don't think he invented it, because most of these things come from somewhere, but I can't find the original source. And it has to do with imitating the best. When I looked for this, as you can see right here, it's more about imitation, not rather about the best. But this one, I think it's based on this guy right here, Jean-Claude Killy. He says, the best and fastest way to learn a sport is to watch and imitate a champion. Why? Because, well, the champion is the point that you can see, or the example of the best possible thing that you can get on that particular sport. Well, the same thing happens in art. If you want to be great at art, you need to watch and learn from whoever is at the top. That's why we go looking for people that know what they've been doing. And hopefully you guys are looking to our channel here to learn a lot of tips, tricks, and techniques. But I'm not the best. I don't consider to be the best. I do have quite a bit of experience, and that I hope it gives me some validity to all of the things that I'm teaching you. But I'm also watching people that are ahead of me on their artistic journey, and I'm learning from them. And then things that I learn from them, sometimes I teach them to you, because that's the way we learn as humans. I think sometimes we get too caught up with the fact that it seems like we're cheating by grabbing something from someone else and then making it our own. But that's how human evolution has worked throughout the last thousands of years. We build upon what has been created before. Imagine if we had to create our own 3D software from scratch if we want to be 3D artists. That would be like nonsense, right? So we grab the softwares that are already there, and we even grab techniques and processes and workflows that are already there, that have already been proven to learn and go from there. It seems a little bit unfair because, and I tell this to my students, when they finish their first class with me, like right now, I have a new generation of students at the university. I tell them, when you finish this semester, after 4 months of 3D work, you are going to be better than I was after 2 years of 3D, because through this 10, 11 years that I've been doing this, I've learned so many things. So I'm going to teach you all of the things that I missed, or that they didn't teach me or taught me, so that you guys don't have to go through all of this process, and you don't have to commit the same mistakes that I'm going to be, or that I committed, right? And that's going to happen to them. Like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, doing the things that we do today are going to be like way easier. Retopology might be done by AI, as some of you have suggested before. There's going to be like automatic 3D models or automatic UVs. Like there's going to be so many things that are going to be so much easier. But you don't have, or like, we shouldn't be feeling intimidated by that, or bad about the fact that we're wasting time now if the solution is going to come later, because we're using what we have at this point. And then when that comes, we're going to have way more experience, and we're going to be able to utilize those tools better. And I see this with my students, like when I teach them ZBrush, right? ZBrush today is nowhere near as good as it was, or sorry, ZBrush today is so good compared to how it was 10 years ago. There's so many new tools, so many new techniques, and I teach those techniques to my students. And even if I teach the new techniques and the new workflows, their work still sucks when they start, because that's how everyone starts, right? So even if you have the most amazing tools, you're still a beginner artist, and you're gonna have to learn everything. You're not gonna have to struggle with the same kind of stuff that I struggle, or that the guys that came before me struggle with, but you're still gonna have to struggle. So here's where the quote that my dad gave me comes into play, because he said, if you want to be the best, first you want to watch the best. You want to learn from the best. Then you want to imitate the best. And this is what I just talked about. It sounds bad because it seems like you're copying, but you're not copying. You're learning while you're trying to get to that specific point. And once you know that, once you have that skill, then you go to the next step, which is now you are the best, or you have to be the best. And that's when you innovate and when you create stuff. For the past year, I would say a lot of the things that I've been sharing with you, that's my way of doing things, my workflow, my pipeline, both in the premium courses and in the tutorials here in YouTube. I've been sharing a lot of things that are from my own creation. But I've also shared a lot of things that are from other people's creations. Like right now, I was looking at the video about USD, which is a new format that you can use to organize scenes in big studios usually. And if I ever teach that to you guys, if I ever find that that's something that's interesting and that might be worth sharing, I can't say that I learned that by myself, because I didn't create the system. I'm learning it from another source, and then I'm kind of explaining it on my own way with my own words, so that you guys can get that information. And of course, the information is available for everyone. It's not like I have some sort of secret source or anything. It's out there. Autodesk, Blender, all of the softwares, they share this information, and it's up to us who create this sort of content to give it our own voice, our own spin, right? Maybe even our own humor and stuff. So now that I've explained this, and this is again one of the things that have helped me, because whenever I want to learn something new, I don't immediately go and try to do it. I always try to follow a process, and this is the process I want to share. Sorry if I went a little bit there on a tangent. I know that I tend to do that. But let's say I want to learn how to draw hands, right? So I remember when I had my first drawing teacher, and she was training me to learn how to draw. She would literally just give me a picture like this, and she would be like, draw it. But that's a really bad way, and I don't blame her, because everyone has a different teaching style. That was a very brute force style. But if I just give you these things and say, hey, go into ZBrush and sculpt these hands, or go into Maya and model them, or draw them in Photoshop, without any steps, without any a guide, it becomes a little bit difficult, right, to do. It becomes very overwhelming. So my first advice, whenever you're trying to learn anything new, anything new, is try to break it down into a process. Because if you try to go for the final result straight from the get-go, it's going to be very, very, very difficult. Some of you might remember earlier in January, I was like, hey, I want to learn a little bit about VFX and Bifrost. So when I look for Bifrost, Maya, There were some very complicated tutorials and examples of how to do like big explosions and stuff like that, like this guy right here. And I was like, you know what? I know I might be able to follow along and do the example, but I'm not going to understand it. I'm just going to be copying things, and I'm not going to really like get why things happen the way they happen. So my process when approaching these kind of things, and that's actually the process that I teach my artists here in the studio, is if you're faced with something that's really complex, break it down. So just start with something simple and then go from there. And I started, and there's a tutorial, by the way, how to do a simple like torch, how to do just like a flame torch and a little bit of smoke. And there we go. So now I understand how the Bifrost thing works. And I know that if I follow a more complex tutorial, things are going to make sense because I already understand the basics. So if we go back to the example of the hands, and I want a student to learn the hands, I'll probably start with hand gesture. Okay, I'll tell them, hey, you know what? Let's start with hand gesture. Let's just draw the general gesture of the of the hand. And what I mean by this is I don't care about like rendering and the exact profiles or anything. I just want like this, like super quick, like thumbnails and scratches of how the perspective of the hand is working. Now, if you're struggling with this, which is very important, this is another one of the big steps that I want to share with you, because it has happened to me again. If you struggle with this, go back to something simple. Be like, okay, you know what? I'm struggling even with gesture. That seems to be like an easy way to do a hand. I'm struggling with it. Well, why are you struggling it? I'm having issues with perspective. No problem. Do perspective. Go all the way back to the basics. Go to perspective drawing. Okay? And learn how to draw cubes in perspective. Learn how to draw cylinders in a perspective. Learn how to draw spheres and prisms and everything. And now when you dominate, or when you're really good at this skill, you're going to be able to transfer this information in a better way to the hand drawing part of the process, right? This is another, I used to take guitar classes, and I've never been really good at music, to be honest. I would like to learn piano later on. I find that instrument to be really, really cool. But I remember that when I was learning guitar, that's exactly what the teacher told us. Is he was like, hey, if you're going to play a song, play it really slow, like super slow. Even if it takes you 1 second per note, just play it really, really, really slow. And once you have it down to 1 second and it sounds perfect and you're not missing any of the keys, then you jump onto half a second, and then 3/4 of or 1/4 of a second, and then real time, right? So by practicing, by building that muscle memory and making sure your fundamentals are done right, that's when you're going to be able to jump into this. I'm going to give you one of the examples. I don't want this video to go super long, because I mentioned that I was going to teach you how to learn. And I'm going to give you an example of something that might be a little bit more specific, right? Let's say you want to do a dragon from House of Dragon or from Game of Thrones. Dragon, House of Dragon. Sorry about that. I'm having some very bad allergies. So let's say your goal, or one of your goals, is to do a super duper hyper realistic looking dragon. Okay, well, you need to do a little bit of research and understand what all the things that you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to learn modeling. You're going to have to learn sculpting. You're going to have to learn texturing. You're going to have to learn rendering. You're going to have to use displacement maps, most probably. And you're going to have to do a little bit of shading inside of Maya or Unreal or whatever you want to render this, so that the materials look as nice as possible. So, okay, I have my general understanding of what I need to learn. Now, let's say I want to focus on sculpting this time around. Okay, well, if I want to focus on sculpting, and if I try to sculpt a dragon, and if it's the first one, you're going to find tutorials out there. There are tutorials out there that's going to tell you, hey, I'll teach you how to sculpt a dragon. But if you've never done anything close to this before, then the result that you're going to get might not be as good as you might want. And that's where a lot of people get discouraged, because they feel like they're not good enough because they weren't able to complete it. You need to keep in mind that whenever we record, especially when we do like the premium tutorials, we've done so many other things in the past that allows us to deliver the tutorial that we're working with. So instead of sculpting a dragon, why not start with something simple like a frog, right? It's also a reptile. You're not going to be worrying about scales yet, but you're going to think about like not anthropomorphic features, but rather like this quadrupedal sort of things, folds, fat, stuff like that. So this is a perfect project for someone who's learning ZBrush. If you're just picking one of our courses and you want to practice, doing a frog is a really nice exercise, and you can get some really cool looking results like this little guy right here. I would expect anyone who has at least like 15 or 20 hours of ZBrush experience to be able to create something close to this, because as you can see, it's all about primary forms, secondary forms, a little bit of alphas and wrinkles here and there, but most of it is the proportions. Now, let's say you finished and you did your frog and it looks really cool. Okay, let's go for an iguana, right? Now we can do an iguana and we can learn about scales. We can learn about the high frequency detail, this sort of like folds, all the little spikes and stuff like that. And you're gonna feel more confident. It's kind of like running a marathon, right? Like you can't just go up and get running and do a marathon. You need to do this progressively. And that's what a lot of people struggle with. They want to jump through the hoops and they want to go straight to the point. Let me see if I have it right here. No, I don't have it. But I remember one of the first projects that I wanted to do when I was just starting 3D. I just had like 1 month or 2 months of experience. Was a dragon. I wanted to do a dragon, and I did it. I tried my best. It looks horrible. It's never gonna see the light of day. Maybe I'll show it. If you guys want me to share it, let me know in the comments. But it's bad. It's a bad model. It doesn't work. It would never work. But sometimes you need to go through that sort of like a process to realize that, hey, I'm not ready yet. I need to practice. I need to get better at other things and do this progressively. There's this guy that I like who gives a very cool advices sometimes. And one of the advices he gave was you should always aim for an achievable yet challenging goal. We talked about this yesterday. So that's where you need to be very honest about yourself and be like, hey, I want to learn something. I want to get there. Okay, fine. But you're not going to get there from today to tomorrow. You're going to have to do this progressively. So what do you want to start with? Be patient. Take your time. And once you start working on that, you're going to be able to get there. Okay? And again, there's nothing wrong with gathering stuff, like looking for tips, looking for other artists, referencing their work. Like if there's something that you really like about someone, like I really, really admire Rafael Grassetti. He's like a rock star, right, in our industry. So if I want to create like a character that looks really close to Kratos, I'm gonna reference Kratos. Just look at it, like see what kind of things he did that look really, really cool, and see if you can implement those into your elements. This guy right here, very cool as well. So you can learn a lot from everyone. And I personally am not against people learning from my stuff. That's why I do tutorials, right? I don't care about sharing. There are some other artists that are a little bit more jealous about their artwork. But at the end of the day, as humans, we are like meant to do that, right? Like we're meant to learn from everyone else, and then those things are going to go through our own mind and body, and we're going to be able to create something that's our own. Okay, inspired of course by other things, by other people, but it's our own vision of that thing. Of course, don't do plagiarism. That's really, really bad. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I don't want to what's the word? I don't want to like contaminate this video with the commercial, with the Skillshare commercial. It's not that it's a contamination, but I feel like it's a very important topic. Hopefully, it's giving you guys a little bit of food for thought, and you guys are gonna go over it and think about what I say. If you agree with it, let me know in the comments. If you don't agree, or if you have something else to add to the conversation, feel free to do it. And don't get discouraged. I think in the last portfolio review, someone was saying, "Hey, I'm going through a bad, like a rough patch. I don't have a job right now, and I don't feel my 3D is good enough." Everyone goes through that. Like even myself, at this point in my career, I'll still get like a challenge with things that are really difficult or really time consuming, and I feel bad about the way I might be doing things. It's all about taking a deep breath, organizing your time, and making sure that you're going for that goal in achievable steps. Right? Don't look at the finishing line, because it's really far away. But if you look at the next stage, at the next checkpoint, you're going to be able to jump and move along a little bit faster. And eventually, you're going to get to the finish line. Okay? So I hope you guys have a great one. If you want to check some of our courses, remember that we have the Skillshare link down below. And that's it for this one. Tomorrow, we'll continue with more 3D. Let me know what other things you want to see. I'm thinking about doing the mask, the gold mask that I was mentioning a couple of weeks ago with the female face. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.